so you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 8 months, you enter a tournament at white belt, you're actually pretty decent, you dominate the shit out of this person for like 4 minutes, you almost triangle them, you sweep them, you mount them, they escape, and they put you in a straight ankle lock, and they tap you, and you go home and cry. Let's never have that happen.
That was very specific, as if you're recounting from memory.
I've seen it at local like 10 years ago. I used to see this at local tournaments. There'd be the guy at white belt who was just absolutely terrible, but he knew a straight ankle lock, and there's the amount of mileage that you get out of it. So the amount of mileage that you get out of this at white belt in tournaments is so ridiculously high. And like I said, you can just be completely better everywhere than somebody else at jiu-jitsu, and they'll stick you in this. The main thing about defending this is just to keep the foot off of your hip. So ideally, we don't want to end up here, right? Like, let's say like Rory's on top for a second, and he grabs my ankle and he starts to drop back. And, nah, I don't think so. That's really when we want to do it. As long as we keep that foot off of our hip, we're fine. Or the same thing goes in, like if we're here and he's trying to straight ankle lock me, and I'm like, no, piss off. Then I don't really need to worry. So this is the main thing, is keeping this foot off of my hip. And then the other thing is just maintaining the mobility of my knee and my hip. Because the reason I want to keep this foot off my hip is because any immobilization that he's able to attain, and any restriction of my knee that he's able to attain, will allow more force to transmit into my foot. The last thing that'll save me here, other than hand fighting, which we'll talk about in a second, is if my foot is flat on the mat, he can go ahead and try to bridge.
Can't move it, really.
As long as he can't create more of an angle, he's not going to actually be able to do anything other than squeeze my foot really hard and put a lot of pressure into my Achilles tendon. But that's one of those things that you can ignore. It's pain that will not lead to injury the vast majority of the time. So removing the foot off the hip, accessing this lever to free my hip, and then making sure that my knee can bend, that I can extend my hip forward. Because one of the things that we'll end up doing here is, if I get my foot kind of towards the camera, so if Rory wraps that up, the pressure that he's using with basically like his lat, his armpit, and his triceps is going to be pushing my toes that way. And he's going to be, as we, hopefully you're coming to this from the previous video, but if you're not, what he's going to be trying to do is push my body, push my hip, push my knee away, stretch my leg out, so all of the pressure he's generating with his torso is going into my ankle joint. When I free my hip, I can start to drive my hip forward, and what a lot of people call this putting on the boot, right? I'm arching my toes, and I'm strengthening my ankle, but not just strengthening it, I'm moving it past the point. So like Rory's forearm was against my Achilles tendon, now it's against my calf muscle. And he's unlikely to be able to break my shin bone in half by squeezing my calf muscle. So I'm trying to drive kind of into the position here. And then let's rotate around. And then once I've done that, I'm trying to clear over top and just stay as close to his legs as possible so he can't re-entangle my legs. Like you can see, I'm sort of blocking Rory's legs with my butt. I can be in the gi. We've got these collar grips that we can use. We can grab the back of the head. Now go to extend. I'm just keeping him from extending his back and generating any pressure. Once I've done this, there's a multitude of options. If he's just really greedy and foolish, I could literally just pop up on top. Right? Most likely what you'll see is somebody framing you and bailing to try to get back up if they're good. In which case, I'll take my leg out and try to perform a technical stand-up at the same time as him, or at worst, I'll just go to my butt and play guard. If I find myself unable to strip this, because again, my main goal is to free my hip. This is true for all leg locks for the most part. There's like 1 or 2 exceptions, like the Kyotera ankle lock, which I've got a lot of stuff out there on. But if I can't free my hip, I'm going to try to prevent that extension either with a collar grip, or if Rory's especially connected his hands, I'm going to be connecting to his, in this case, right arm as a lever to his shoulder. So if I don't have, like, if we're not in the gi and I can't grab this collar, and Rory's a little bit taller than I am, can't really effectively grab his head. If I could, that'd be fine. But I will loop my arm through the crook of his elbow, and I will connect to his triceps, basically like I'm making a rear naked choke style grip. And then
I can't extend.
Extend. So this is sort of my, like, if I just need to survive and nothing else is where, short time, there's well, actually it shouldn't even be short time. There could be 2 minutes left and he's not gonna break my ankle, right? But this doesn't really get you out of it, but it does prevent anything else from happening to your foot. All right, so we can just kind of hang out here. While we're hanging out here, we can go back to trying to strip the foot, or we can be trying to actually break the grip. And then that allows us to, control in the gi. Again, now, good luck. You're not gonna have an easy time straight ankle locking me anymore. I can worry about this. In no-gi, I'll be holding this as long as I can while he pulls this arm out, which he eventually will. I'll go back to this. And then as soon as I'm over here, like I said before, we can do this kind of stuff, or we can immediately base switch and come up on top. As long as we keep that foot off the hip, we can now start looking to stand up and pass the guard.
Keeping your hips really close, staying close to your opponent is really important when you're first learning how to escape, because right now we're talking about standard ashi, and that's the foundational movement, the foundational position that you're gonna have to learn how to escape. But when you're dealing with better leg lockers, they have more positions that they can go to, more different leg entanglements. And so if Rob was to keep a lot of space between us as he pushes that hip off, I can go into something like outside ashi. I can go right into something like butterfly ashi. There's a bunch of great positions where you can see that space allows the different leg configurations to happen. You have to learn how to defend these as well. But when Rob keeps his hips close to me and controls the top of my leg here, I might be able to get that butterfly hook in for something, but I'm not able to actually ever stop him from being able to move. I can never pin his hip, and then I subsequently was unable to ever actually control his knee and wedge it and immobilize it. And so he was able to constantly just keep on moving there. If you're defending the leg locks and you create space, or stay still for a extended period of time, which, I mean, in jiu-jitsu, in any of these positions, if you stay still and let your partner make a bunch of moves without reacting to them, you're gonna die. So
yeah, that's a really important, we've probably made this point in the series before, but a lot of people seem to think that just isometrically holding some version of the field position gets passed off as good defense. It's really not. Jiu-jitsu is learning how to move your body, maintain the alignment of your body relative to your opponent's body. If all you know how to do is just not move, that'll work on a lot of people, because they will respond to your isometric tension by trying to break that tension. Whereas more experienced people will just start to move around you and change positions. So like Rory just said, if I just held on tight, if he's a good leg locker, he's just gonna move to something else. And I'm gonna be holding on tight while and I don't even mean to some other leg lock, just something else. If you over defend the leg, one of the great things about leg locks, and we alluded to this in the previous video, is if I just focus on defending my legs, I'll probably stop you from leg locking me, but I will expose my back. I will sweep myself. I will do things in the process that will give you better positions, that will give you other avenues to attack. So just being the person who's holding on super tight is not enough. That's why it's so important to focus more on freeing your hips and creating mobility so that you can start a positional exchange with your partner, rather than just holding on for dear life and hoping that that's good enough to get the job done.
Yeah, so this was just a brief overview of how to defend the ankle lock. I'll link it down below, but I also have something like a 12-part series at this point of ankle lock defense from different positions and stuff like that, so that you have an understanding of that. So if you guys need more information, which you probably do, you can never learn enough about this stuff, and you'll have to eventually start getting into the other leg lock stuff. But typically, depending on the competition that you're entering, a lot of the other leg locks aren't allowed until as high as brown belt. So the straight
There's another reason that the IBJJF is stupid, is because they infantilize you and you end up not learning any of this stuff. And this is why, if you're new to jiu-jitsu, there's a period of time where if you just were good at heel hooks and entered a tournament that wasn't IBJJF related, and you went up against somebody who was an IBJJF grappler, you could just heel hook them in 12 seconds. They had no idea what they were doing. So it's important that this be your sort of gateway into understanding this stuff, whether it's going through our series. I've got a series with Stefan Kesting on leg locks. We've got a ton of updated leg lock material on BJJ concepts. Rory's got a lot of stuff on YouTube. There are a ton of good resources out there. Get yourself to the point where you're at least familiar enough with the positions, the submissions, that you can have a workable understanding of them as you progress through the ranks. Don't wait until you're a brown belt, because Papa, whatever the fuck his name is, I forget, who runs the IBJJF, says so.